Hey there, welcome to the second video in the Pythagorean theorem part of this unit. And to just do a quick recap from our previous video, we found how to find the missing hypotenuse of any right triangle. You guys learned about a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and you learned that these two sides that make up the right angle were called the legs. And so this should look familiar here, that 3 squared, we're going to just go with 3 squared as one of the legs, plus the 4 squared, and we use that to figure out what the missing side over here was. In this case, we know 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is a 16, and you guys have seen me prove this one before where we get a 25. And if 25 is c squared, I can take the square root of that and get a 5. So we just found the hypotenuse was a 5. So what we're going to be doing in this video is I'm actually going to tell you the hypotenuse, and you're going to find one of the missing legs. Now we already know that if the hypotenuse is a 5, the two legs are going to be a 3 and a 4. So real quick, let me just show you how it's going to work. It doesn't really matter which one you call A and B. We've already talked about that as well. But here, if I have a 3 and then a 4, I'm clearly going with this is going to be A. So we're going to have A squared is the unknown in this one. That's what I don't know. And then I know if I add it to 4 squared, it's supposed to equal this leg, or excuse me, the hypotenuse squared. So if a squared plus b squared is supposed to equal c squared, we know that this is a 16. We know that this is a 25. And we're trying to figure out a squared. So this is not in your notes. I just kind of wanted to show you with an example that you already know how to prove that. Now you might remember from solving an equation that we need to subtract the 16 on both sides. And so c squared minus b squared is 9. I just did c squared minus b squared. And that's how I'm going to find the other leg. When I take the square root of the 9, I get a 3. So we just found that the a would have been a 3. And we already knew that over here. So when you have a hypotenuse and you're trying to find either missing leg, you're actually going to need to use subtraction. We did not need that in the previous video. We just took one leg squared and added it to the other leg squared, and then we just took the square root of that. To show you guys one more example real quick before we go into the notes that you guys have in your packet. If I gave you the 3, if I gave you that a was 3, then this time we're trying to find the 4, all right? So we know that a squared plus b squared is c squared, and here we have the 5. So we know we've got the 9, we're trying to find b squared, and we know that that equals 25. So when we solve an equation, we're going to subtract that constant on both sides. That's taking it back from a previous unit. So b squared here is going to equal 16. So now when we take the square root, we get the 4. And we knew already that that should have been a 4. So just using the 3 by 4 by 5 classic right triangle, I kind of wanted to show you guys what this video is going to be all about. All right. So now we're here in your packet. We're on page 4. So make sure you're with me. And again, you can see the I can statement at the top. Now we're going to be focusing on how to find one of the missing legs if you've been given the hypotenuse. Friendly reminder, just in terms of the vocab, that the hypotenuse is always the side that's across from the right angle. So here's my right angle, which means the hypotenuse is this 14 right here. In this one, that's my right angle. And so the side across from it is the 15. So you can see in these shapes, I've actually given you the hypotenuse, and you're missing one of the sides that makes the right angle, that leg. Okay? So we're still going to use the same formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we've got a, we don't know. B here is the 10. Those are the two legs that make up the right angle. And the hypotenuse in this case we know is a 14. So basically we're just going to be doing the 14 squared minus the 10 squared. So a lot of you are going to start to kind of develop this in your brain that when you're trying to find the missing leg, you just do c squared minus the leg that you have, and then you'll be given that one left over. So here, I'm just going to drop the line. I've got the 196, 14 squared is 196, and I'm going to be subtracting 100 from that. 10 squared is 100. So 14 squared was 196. When I subtract the 100, I get 96. So a squared is 96. Now to find a, I need the square root of that. So the square root of 96. Whoops, I went the wrong way. There we go. And we're going to round this here. Let's use this 9 to bump this up to a 9.8. So we just found this side to be a 9.8. All right, cool. Now, let's say you have another triangle, and you know you've got the hypotenuse, and this time it says B is missing. Okay? Over here, A was the unknown. This time, B is the unknown. So we're going to use the 9 squared for A squared. We don't know B squared. And we've got the hypotenuse is 15, so I'm plugging in C, 15 squared. We've got A, B, and C. Cool. So we know this is an 81. Again, don't know B squared, just going to leave that there. And you might remember 15 squared is 225. You can always use your calculator for that part too if you forget. So now we're going to drop that line and subtract. So again, my shortcut, people, what we're really just doing here is the hypotenuse squared minus A squared. And that's going to give us B squared. And we'll just take the square root and we'll have B. So here, when we do 225 minus 81, that's me doing C squared minus A squared. I get 144. So B squared is 144. Now if B squared is 144, to find B, I'm going to take the square root of that, and we get 12. So this right here has to be a 12 yards. So when you're finding a missing leg, you must use subtraction. I'm trying to get my highlighter out to highlight that for you guys right now. But yep, we've been using subtraction here. There we go, subtraction. Now these first two examples, I had pictures, and I wanted you to see again that like across from the right angle, I might be giving you the hypotenuse, or again, across from the right angle, I might be giving you that hypotenuse. Now, if you see questions like 1, 2, and 3 here, you've got to decide what you've been given and what you need to find. And for example, for the first one, you've been given that A is 4, you don't know B, and you've been given that the C is 10. So you've been giving one leg and the hypotenuse. So that's kind of this new thing we're looking at for today. You've got your A, so you've got 4 squared. You've got your C, which is going to be 10 squared. And we're trying to find B. All right, sorry, that equal sign looks a little weird. There we go. Now again, the numbers in blue, you guys know 4 squared is 16. You know 10 squared is 100. So let's just solve this equation. Just like we did earlier, I'm about to subtract that 16 from both sides. And 100 minus 16 is 84. So B squared is 84. We don't know what the square root of 84 is. It's not a perfect square. So let's just do it in the calculator. And we'll use this 6 to bump this up to a 9.2. It'll be a 9.2. So B here is 9.2. No, I want to wait to the end to get this answer to draw the right triangle. If A is 4 and B is 9.2, if I put this is A and that's 4, then 9.2 definitely needs to be longer. And so the A is the shorter side here, so that's the 4. We just found B is 9.2. And then the hypotenuse we said was a 10. Now it's also okay to say, okay, that's going to be the 9.2 and this is the 4, and then that would still be a 10. Doesn't really matter, just as long as the triangle makes sense, that this is the shorter side, this was the longer of the two legs, and then here's the hypotenuse. So either one of these works, okay? All right, I'm just going to move this over. Hopefully you've got that in your notes, and that's the 9.2. All right, now we're on the middle one here. So for the middle one, this time we don't know A, we have B, and we have C. All right? So same formula, we don't know A, we'll just leave that here. We know B this time is going to be the 3 that gets squared, and C being squared, we have a 16 being squared. 3 squared is 9, 16 squared is 256. And now we're ready to solve. You have a squared plus 9 equals 256. All right, let's subtract that 9. All right, 256 minus that 9 is 247. Now we don't know the square root of that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit square root. And that'll be a 15.7, a 15.7. Oop, square root, 15.7. All right, now we said that we want to wait to the end to try to draw this. We said that A is 15.7 and B is 3. Okay, so if A is this side and that's 15.7, that's pretty long. And then 3 is going to be a much shorter side than that. And then the hypotenuse would be the 16. So now we can kind of label that one. This is the height of the 3 right there. The A we said is 15.7. It's pretty long. And then the hypotenuse across from this right angle is a 16. And now we're on the third one. And if at any point you want to pause the video and try these on your own, feel free. This one's another one where we're missing A. We have B is 6 and C is 15. I'm just going to move this over real quick. There we go. And we do not know A. B is the 6 that you're about to see me plug in, so 6 squared. And then I've got a 15 squared over here. So this is 225 minus the 36. See how I'm just kind of starting to shortcut this a little bit? We could subtract 6 squared on both sides. And in the calculator, this is 225 minus 36. 225 minus 36. To get a 189. So when I take the square root of that, it's 13.7. So A is 13.7. All right, so if this is a 13.7, that's pretty long. And 6 is about half of it, so let's kind of draw that one. So that's pretty long. 6 would be not quite half that length. And then there's the 15. Cool, so 6, 13.7, and 15. Now down here at the bottom of the page, I didn't want you to forget the previous video and how to find the missing hypotenuse, okay? So let's say you've got A and B. I'm giving you both the legs. This is back to the easier one where you've just got to do A squared plus, then you've got B squared here. You're just going to add them up in the calculator. This is a 121. 15 times 15 is 225. So when we add these together, A squared plus B squared, and that's 346. And 346 is C squared. So to find C, just got to take that square root. So square root, and that'd be at 18.6. 18.6. So friendly reminder from the previous video, when you have both legs to find the hypotenuse, it's just A squared plus B squared, and then you take the square root of that answer. What we were looking at today, you have C squared and you subtract the other leg. And then when you've got that number, you take the square root to find the other leg. All right, one final example here. If A is 2, so we're just going to do 2 squared plus 5 squared. We have both legs. And we're going to add those up to find C squared. 2 squared is 4. 5 squared is 9. No, it's not. Just kidding. I was looking at the 4 plus the 5. So 2 squared is 4. 5 squared is 25. There we go. And this would be a 29. That's where I think I got that 9 from. All right, now that's C squared. So to find C, let's take the square root. And square root of 29 is going to be, we use this 8 to bump that up. We got a 5.4. All right, let's just draw these real quick. Make sure we've got triangles that make sense. So if A is 11, let's say I have that as my 11. I'll use B as the 15, a little bit longer. All right, cool. And then if this is a 2, 5 is going to be more than that. And then 5.4 would be that one. Just label these real quick. This was the 5.4. We said this was a 5 and a 2. Cool. And over here, the longest side, the hypotenuse, was the 18.6 across from the right angle. The tall leg was 15, and the shorter of the two legs was an 11. All right, so we've taken notes on page 4. And now I want you guys to flip over with me so I can just explain kind of the puzzle piece of this for y'all. I'm going to go through these two examples, and you can see over here is a place for you on page 6 to show the work for the puzzle sheet. The letters here all match up to the letters here, so this is again just a place to show the work. And for this one, you've got that A is 5, we don't know B, and C is 6. So we have one leg and we have the hypotenuse. So we have 5 squared plus B squared, I don't know what B is, and the hypotenuse in this problem was a 6, so 6 squared. It's okay to use your calculator if you don't know, again, if you don't remember, that 5 squared, for example, is 25, or that 6 squared is 36. It's okay. But to solve this, I know that I need to subtract the 5 squared on both sides. Now I'm going to kind of run out of room here, but you should have enough room in your box for this one. So the 36 minus 25, and I get 11. So B squared equals 11. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take the square root of that answer, and I get a 3.3. So B equals 3.3. And again, I know I kind of smushed into some other boxes here, but you guys should have enough room for that within that box, okay? So 3.3 is the answer. Cool. So now up here, anywhere I see a 3.3, I'm going to fill it in with the letter C. All right, I don't see, oh, here's one. Just looking for my answer, 3.3. Okay, we got it. We're taken care of. All right, now let's look at letter W over here, okay? This is another example. And here you have A and B, so here you have both legs. You have A squared plus B squared, and you're going to use that to find the hypotenuse squared. Well, 1 squared is 1. 1 squared is 1. And if you add them up, you get a 2. Now 2 is C squared. So to find C, we just need the square root of 2. All right, 2. All right, when I take the square root of that, I get a 1.4. So 1.4 here would be C. So again, you can show your work in each of these little boxes on page 6. And again, I know all of this stuff for you guys can fit into that little box for box W. All right, so I found my answer. This was a 1.4. So then I'm going to go try to find the 1.4 in here, and I'm going to fill it in with letter W. So anywhere I see a 1.4, there's one. None there. None there. All right. Now I do want to point out, y'all, for example, I think like 8.8, this is one where I see lots of 8.8s. I think, where's 8.8? I think there was another one. Yep, here's another one. So, and here's even another one right there, the first one. So down here, wherever you get the 8.8, it's going to fill in. You can see with those, lots of blanks. The two that I happen to do with you guys only have one place to fill in for each of them. All right. So at this point, you're going to be working on this page, and that concludes this video. Thank you for watching.